I want to thank everyone who showed up, the candidate hopefuls, as well as the citizens. All of you are important, and we're very glad that you're here. It takes all of us to make the election process serve the people well. What we're going to do now is we're going to start, and I'm just really going to start on this end. So Sammy, you get up first, and you got your 5, and you start telling them what you want to tell them.
All right. When I was a senior at Sequoia High School, my parents got a divorce. I was working at the Beef O'Brady's in Freehome, and some of our regulars found out that we did not have enough Christmas decorations for that year. And my next shift, I had totes and boxes of Christmas decorations. This was the first time in my life that the Navy had not been my family, had not been my community. Canton became that for me. There are millions of different examples that I could give you of how this community has come together when they have needed it. And that's the way I see this. I see this as community service. I have a set of skills that I can provide to the city of Canton. My name is Sammy Baker. Well, it's Samantha, but only when I'm in trouble. Moving around this country has given me the experience to recognize that our differences are what really makes us stronger, and that echo chambers are very, very dangerous. Generally, I can find common ground with just about everybody. And what I've learned, despite the media's lies and propaganda, is that most people just want to live their lives and they want to be left alone by the government. This is not possible when you have a government that can come up to you at any time and tell you that you're breaking the law and fine you, or worse, regardless of your knowledge of the law, because ignorance is not an excuse, right? Well, I'm slowly working my way through the municipal code, and it is quite impossible to drive in the city of Canton without breaking the municipal code. Some ordinances are contradictory. Some haven't been relevant in decades. Some are just plain government overreach. Our municipal code is set to update in February. Someone needs to speak up for the freedoms and liberties the government has been whittling away for decades. Working in customer service and retail management taught me a great deal about good policy versus bad policy, about good management versus bad bosses. When rules are written to be intentionally convoluted, the results are not effective communication or a healthy workplace environment. The role of government should be to act as an advocate for the people. They have forgotten that. They have lost their way. Starting locally, nullifying government overreach can help build the roadmap to apply these same principles to larger governing bodies. For the last 8 years, I have had the absolute pleasure of being a stay-at-home mom. Nothing will humble you quite like raising kids. Nothing will make you as protective of the future, and nothing will make you dislike wasteful uses of resources like your kids, except for the government. Like a teenager with their parents' credit card, our city council has forgotten that every dollar spent is taken from someone, not freely given. We have a county who raised some people's property values 100% plus, and the city council applauding spending almost $1 million on art. And some of that came from the general fund, so somebody's property taxes paid for art. The slums that were here 20 years ago haven't gotten any better, and then our city's response in our code is, it's too expensive and we just can't deal with it. That's not good enough. I want to find creative solutions for this issue and others in this city. We can use community-based help fostered by the government, our advocates, not overlords. We can use art projects to light 575 at exit 16, like the Canton PD has been requesting for years. We can find creative solutions. I did not always want to live here, but I do, and I want to live here with the natural beauty and resources that they have, and I want my kids to do that too. Thank you guys so much.
Thank you, Sam. Brian, you're up next.
Don't start the... Good evening. Brian Roach. I'm running for City Council Ward 2 in the special election. First off, I want to thank the Republican Party of Cherokee for having this, inviting all of us. It's a good crowd. It looks like a concerned crowd. Y'all want to be informed, so hopefully we can do that. I'm invested in the city of Canton. I'm born and raised here. I'm spiritually, emotionally, physically, and financially invested in this county. My church is here, my family's here, I work here. The bottom line is I want everybody to be taken care of in the city of Canton. And it's not necessarily what I want, but it's what I've listened to the constituents and the residents of the city. Real quick, I'm born and raised here. I went to Canton Elementary before. It was actually built back as Canton Elementary, and then now it's part of Cherokee High School, but I was a greenie. I went to Teasley Middle School. I went to Cherokee High School, and then to the University of Georgia. So for 4 years, I didn't have a Canton address, but I moved back and I started my career here, and I've been here ever since. My wife is a school teacher in the county. She's in her, I believe, 25th year? 26th year. My sister is a teacher in the county. My mom lives and works in the city limits. My dad was a Superior Court judge here. My ties are strong here. I love this place. And I want to continue to see Canton thrive and move in the right direction. Again, it's not necessarily what I want, but it's what the constituents, what people have told me with meetings in my ward, in Ward 2 and in Ward 3, just everything. There's basically 3 topics that I'll run over, and then you can ask questions if you want. First and foremost is public safety. I feel like we have an unbelievable police force here, and I believe this is one of the safest cities to live in. So I want all of our resources and everything that we can do to go towards the police. We've got a great officer staff. We've got a great chief who's retiring. But I want to do everything we can in our power to maintain that public safety for our citizens and our business. And what ties into public safety, in my opinion, is quality growth. Without growth, we die. But I really love to see single-family homes, ownership of homes and businesses. So a young family with kids that want to move here, they're going to be able to move here, send their kids to great schools, and know they're safe because we've got a great police force. The retired folks that are moving from South Georgia or a different part of the country are coming here because they're safe. The cost of living is low. And it's just a great place to retire. You got one of the best hospitals around. You got some of the best dining in town, not just downtown Canton, but all around. And I want to keep it that way. And I think the last kind of a hot point with most people that I've talked to is budgets, taxes, and everything else that goes along with that. So with my leadership skills and my business skills, I feel like we can dive into the budget. We can see what we really need to spend stuff on and what we don't. There's things that we need to do. There's money that we're going to have for future projects. And I mean, the list is long. But I feel like we can look at that budget. We can take into consideration what we really need and what we really don't need. And if we can reduce the budget, then we can possibly roll back the millage rate. Rolling back the millage rate means everybody will save some money on their property taxes. And that's important to me. Again, I'll close. Is that that's okay, my bad. Thanks again for having us. We appreciate that. And I'll just be 100% honest with you. I want your vote. If you haven't voted, go vote. November the 7th, 60 seconds. But I mean, it's a nonpartisan race, but I'll tell you right now, I want the Republican vote, the Democratic vote, the Independent vote, the Libertarian vote. I want you to vote for Brian Roach. I want to end this election cycle and have the most votes ever cast for one person in the city of Canton. Thank y'all very much.
Ferris, you're up.
Okay. Well, my name is Ferris John, and I wasn't born here, but I've lived here most of my life. My wife is a third-generation Canton resident, and we have both owned, her family and my family both own businesses in Canton. So our ties are really deep to this community also. And I came into public service kind of sideways, I think. I got involved when I moved my business downtown and started trying to promote downtown and revitalize. And that led me to the Main Street program. It led me to ultimately City Council. And I'm not going to give you my whole history because that's on my website and my Facebook page, and y'all are welcome to go read all of that. But my love for this community is deep, and my ties are deep. And I want to see this community prosper. I want to see it the way I remember it when I was in high school at Cherokee High School, with streets full of consumers, with businesses full. Also, I want to see all of the city, not just the downtown and not just the old parts. I want to see everything. I'd love to see South Canton booming the way the mill and the way Riverstone and all that area is booming. I'd love to see all of Canton really strong economically. One thing that is driving me to get back involved, I had stepped away from the city for a while, and one thing that's driven me to get back involved is the misplaced priorities, I believe is the right way to put it, of our current administration. And I want to see us get back on track with trying to be fiscally responsible. Yes, growth is inevitable. We need growth, but we need to plan for it. We need to make sure that what we do doesn't create an undue burden on the current residents as new people come in. We need to find creative ways to work with the DOT and the county to improve our traffic flows. That's one problem we have here. It's a city, county, state, county, city, roads. So your one road project involves, all these players, but we need to find creative ways to help make minor improvements. You can add a little longer turn lane. You can change the light timing. You can do things that will help in that regard. We need to work on the budget, as Brian was saying, because all this growth coming in, it doesn't make sense to me why we're getting all this new, all these new residents, all this new tax base, but each individual is still paying more than they ever did before. It should be getting all this fresh money in should make the burden less, I would think. So we need to really dig into that and find out where the money is going and what it's going to. And I also just really want your support, your vote. I want to listen to what you want. I want to help the current residents. I want to help the new residents. I want to help everyone be able to enjoy this city that we love so much. And I want to be able to see everybody prosper. And so that's basically why I am getting back involved again. And I will stop there. Go to my website, yawnforcanton.com. You can go to my Facebook page. And if you have any questions, I'm easy to find.
Thank you all for coming. I'm Andy Tubbs. I'm one of the mayoral candidates. Of course, the other one is our current mayor. It's great to see the concerned faces. The only reason you're here is because you're concerned about our community, and one of our problems is only 10% of us get out and vote. You can look at the 10 to 14% are voting, and so we have the election people that are voted by that 10%. At the moment, I don't believe that's actually representative of our count of our city and how we are. I've also been told that I'm remiss on who I am, so I'm going to give you a little bit of background of who I am. I'm the son of a 29-year veteran of the Marine Corps, retired full bird. My wife was, or his wife, my mom, was a school teacher when she didn't have us at home. So when I started going to school, I was the youngest of 4. So when I started to go to school, my mom also went to school. After my dad retired, my mom and dad put another 29 some odd years into volunteering at Yellowstone National Park, a couple other places, and received the Obama Lifetime Achievement, or received the Lifetime Achievement Award from President Obama for their service. Because it's all service, and it's that type of service that was instilled in me, my brothers, and my sisters, and in everything that I've done it to serve the people that are out there. I can tell you I started at 14 with a paper route, Washington Post, up in Virginia. Dad said, "Oh, you're gonna do a paper route, huh?" "Yep, I wanna do it, Dad." He goes, "Don't come to me and Mom to help you. This is yours and yours alone to do." You're talking to a colonel in the Marine Corps, right? That's what's gonna happen. I did that paper route for 4 years. Other than the times that we went on vacation, I missed 1 day due to strep throat, and my parents said, "No, get back in bed, we'll do these." 1 day, 4 years. I left, that was high school. When I graduated high school, I had $20,000 that I'd put away from my paper route. You're talking late 70s, early 80s. I then went to college. In college, I worked myself through college. Yes, my parents would have helped me, but I said, no, I got it. I'm gonna work through college. I served at a gas station for 4 years. This is back when, by the way, you washed the windows, you checked the oils, you pumped the gas, and the people in the car said, "Oh, wait, you missed a spot," kind of deal. But that's, again, serving the people. The restaurants that I've worked in, serving the people. I am now in IT. I am still in IT. Okay, I'm an IT systems engineer, which, what does that mean to you? A systems engineer makes everything work together. I take this application, I take this system, we make everything work together because the customer wants this to happen or my bosses want that to happen, whatever happens like that, that's what I do. I make things work together, have done it for years and years and years. I've managed small groups of people. I managed 7 different people. We had 23 different applications. I was the project lead. I had to do all the meetings. I also was very technical. I've never asked somebody who worked for me to do something that I couldn't do. They couldn't come to me and say, "It can't be done," because then the guy went to lunch. He had it for 2 weeks, one of my employees. "Can't be done, boss. I've tried. He went to lunch. When he came back, it was done. He was the first one I had to let go when we downsized. But very bright young man, but he just didn't do it. But that's what I do. So I serve my customers. When I moved, our company had 2 different buildings. We had 70 employees. And we had to move. We had to move to a single building. I planned it because I'm the IT manager, so I'm having to plan everything, move everything, get everything ready. They let me have noon Friday. By 8:15 Monday morning, everything was working, all problems solved. And the people were complaining because they said, "I thought we were gonna have an easy week because we'd be fixing things." But no, everything was up and running in those 3 days. That's what I do. I was in California. I was born in California. Oh, I'm sorry. I've lived here 6 years. I lived in Ackworth for 20. I've been in Georgia for 27. My wife and I had our house built where we hope to retire in forever. It's our forever home in Laurel Canyon. That's where we live. And so my roots here, haven't always been here, but actually I think that helps you. It tells you that I've been around this country with my father as a Marine Corps. I've been lots of places. I've seen lots of things, good and bad. And I can bring that. And I have some couple gentlemen up here who've been here forever and can help keep that together. And together we can move that way. So California, my boss came to me once and he goes, "We got an issue. 911 has to be converted from analog to digital." This is mid-90s. And he goes, "By the way, if we don't meet our deadline, we could have a $5 million tax lawsuit converting all of the fire, the sheriff's departments, everybody 911. I had no idea what the product was. I had to coordinate with Pacific Bell. I worked for GTE, AT&T, and we were set. And so we did that project ahead of time, on time, and done. Good? So that's who I am. And I look forward to your questions.
I'd like to thank everyone for taking the time to introduce themselves a little. Now we're going to have a thing where I'm going to ask the question. Each one of you are going to answer the same question. But you only have a minute and a half, and some of these questions are complex. So do your best to just throw a little bit of a tidbit out there about what you think or what you would do about the question. So this one is a 1 minute, 30 second, and my asking, Lisa, doesn't count. After I get done, okay? That's when it starts. Okay, I'm going to start over here, Sammy. The next question, when I get to it, I'm going to go down the line so nobody gets the first one every time, if y'all know what I'm saying. But unfortunately, you're in the boat right now, okay? In your opinion, what's more important for our city right now? Increased commercial construction to bring in jobs or increased residential construction? If residential, are you aware of our current residents' concerns to slow or curb high-density residential construction? What steps would you take to bring in new commercial projects and to slow or curb high-density residential construction?
So first, for which one would I choose? Commercial. Completely. The residentials that they're building right now, not only is the quality not great, the way that they're throwing them up is not okay, but the amount of houses per acre it's too much. Nobody moves to Canton because they want to be able to hand their next door neighbor toilet paper out of their bathroom. That's not why you move to Canton. You move to Canton for space and clean air and a little bit of that comfort with nature. So no more of the residentials. As far as commercial goes, we actually had somebody at one of the city council meetings came up, gentlemen, we were just talking about him, had all the numbers. Just a citizen who came up and counted how many empty parking spaces there were in the city. And there are places in our parking lots where we could actually put new buildings, and I mean there are just tons of empty parking lots where we can do that. The other thing that we need is not just retail jobs, but we need office jobs that turn into careers that aren't just entry-level positions.
Are you going to read that again?
Would you like to? All right,
Do you?
I'm out a minute. In your opinion, what's more important for our city right now? Increased commercial construction to bring in jobs or increased residential construction? If residential, are you aware of our current residents' concerns to slow or curb high-density residential? What steps would you take to bring in commercial projects and to slow or curb high-density residential construction?
If you're asking me either or, and you had to have a definite answer, commercial. We have plenty of land in the city of Canton to expand and grow for businesses to come in here, but that also brings residential as well. So I'm again, as what I told you in my opening statement, I am for quality growth. I'm for single family housing. I'm for ownership. And those are the people that are going to come in here and they're going to work and create businesses and be able to afford to build a building or buy a building and run their business out of it. I am fully aware that there's plenty of high density apartments, townhomes, and whatever else, and there's plenty on the books. I don't know if y'all realize what's on the books. It has nothing to do with the city council that's on there now. This was done a long time ago. There's lots of pods to be created and built for residential. So, I mean, commercial would be more important, but again, you all have to take into consideration the infrastructure. Can we handle both? I mean, with a big commercial building comes a lot of people, a lot of stress on the roads, a lot of stress on your sewer lines, the traffic and everything else. So, I guess commercial if I have to choose one of the two, but I think there's a balance for everything.
Thank you.
Yep.
Can I make a suggestion? Let's stand up when we answer, just so the people in the back can see us and hear us better.
That's probably a good suggestion, Andy. Okay, so Ferris, you get to stand up. Do you want me to do the question?
Okay. My answer probably is going to pretty well mirror Brian's. Because if I had to choose between the two, commercial, but commercial growth needs workers, needs employees, needs places for their employees to live. And I am not a fan of the high density. I live in River Green, which is, as she was saying, you can almost touch your neighbor's house. But we also have reality. You have only so much land to put so many people in. But I think you do have to have a mix. You can't just do one or the other, but we do need good quality jobs. We do need encourage people to invest in businesses and create jobs, create careers, create a growth economy. And that will bring people. I don't want to build commercial to the point where everybody has to live in Ellijay, for example, to afford to buy a house, to come. So I want both. I want all of it. But we just have to find a way to balance it.
Andy?
Definitely commercial. And why do I say that? Because housing in Canton, we already have the highest percentage in Cherokee County of unoccupied homes. We already do. So yes, I don't disagree with Brian or Ferris that as we bring in business, we're going to need some more housing. Yeah, that's going to happen. But until we start getting it in there, I think we can wait a little bit. And I like to call it workforce housing. People who actually own their apartment or maybe a townhouse, if you go that way, but not lease, they own it so that they can work there. I went to Ball Ground a few weeks back, and I go to Ball Ground because they have some terrific coffee there that I like, but we went in on a Saturday. Teeming with people, teeming. And we actually ran into a couple that we know from Canton. They were there as well, and they called us over, and we said, well, why aren't we in Canton downtown? Because honestly, Saturday and Sunday, if you're not at lunch or you're not at dinner, there's not much to do in downtown Canton on the weekend. And that's what we got to push. We got to push business here. We've got to figure out how we can bring business into downtown Canton so that we become a striving community downtown. Some thoughts are bringing things like the farmers market, things like that you can bring people in, people get to see the support, and then businesses, by the way, go, man, I got to have a business in downtown Canton because they have the people there to come. Once we get that, possibly our lawyer firms that have a lot of the downstairs places because we are the county seat, maybe they move upstairs. So.
Thank you. Okay, question number 2 is coming up. And Brian, you're going to be first out of the chute on this one, okay? Can y'all hear me okay? Can everyone hear me? Okay. It is a commonly held opinion that our permitting process is cumbersome and way too time-consuming. What do you propose to improve the permitting process in our city?
That's a good question. Excuse me. I don't know if anybody's permitted anything in the city of Canton before, whether it's a pool, whether it's, I think you have to permit a roof. But it's a cumbersome task. It goes through multiple processes. That's why you don't see a lot of local builders developing subdivisions around here anymore. It's tract builders. It's large tract firms that have the manpower and the attorneys to come in there and pay and have the money to build the houses that you need. So I do think it is. And I think it all goes back to staff. I think you just want to make sure a good staff that's accountable, that will return your phone calls, an easier way to go online and fill these things out. But permitting is an issue, and I do it. I've done it myself. I do it a lot of times. Sometimes I don't get phone calls back. Sometimes I do. For the most part, I feel like the city works pretty pretty hard for you once you get the initial process going. But the initial process is tough. It's a lot of paperwork. It's just like if you're rezoning a piece of property or a conditional use permit, what they have when you're doing something with a piece of property. It's a lot of paperwork. It's a lot of time-consuming paperwork the average person can't do. So I would love to see, a staff, someone in the staff, a go-between to help people through the permitting process.
Thank you.
Mhm.
There's your turn.
Okay, that is one of the complaints I have always heard is anytime I've ever had a project and I've looked for someone to do it, they're like, are you city or county? Oh, you're city. I'm not real thrilled about doing that. And we do wind up with builders that work city, and we wind up with builders that work county. And they do not like the county, the people that work in the county don't want to come into the city for that very reason. It's very cumbersome. So we do need to work on streamlining that process. And it is a staffing issue. We need to look at the staff we have, look at their responsibilities, see how things are divided up, and see how we can streamline. But we do need to make it less cumbersome if we hope to have business come to Canton. And we almost discourage it. And like I say, once you're in, you're very well supported, but yeah, it does need to be seriously streamlined.
It gets the benefit of going third is they cover a lot of the things that you would cover anyway. But so I'll give you this. I went to a housing authority meeting. I was invited to one of our housing authority meetings here in Canton. And after we sat there for 45 minutes, one of the builders across the way asked the chairperson of the committee, he said, can we do anything about the permitting and things? It takes a year just to get a permit and do things within this city. I haven't looked at that. I don't know. I can tell you, and by the way, I don't mind telling you I don't know something. Doesn't mean I can't go find out, and I will. When I'm elected, I will do this. But we can look at the permitting process, and hopefully we can find ways to help streamline that for the builders so that they can build what we need to build in Canton, get it done, and have it all set up and working right.
Same.
It boils down to what we, the citizens, have allowed our city to regulate. Inside the city, you have to ask permission if you want to have a privacy fence put up. You have to ask all kinds of certain things. You can't drive your golf cart unless your subdivision has given or has submitted the application for the city. None of those things are the government's responsibility to tell us whether or not we can or can't do it. It's not a matter of simplification, it's a matter of removal. It is not the code enforcer's responsibility to tell us whether or not we can have Bermuda grass or thistles in our front yard. Some of the weeds that they have listed in the ordinances that you can't have in your front yard are medicinal. They're medicinal things, but because they're considered weeds, the city has decided I can't have them more than 8 inches off the ground. That's insane, and also not their responsibility. It is not a matter of reducing or simplifying the process. It is a matter of getting them out of our lives.
Question number 3, and this one's going to start with Ferris. If elected, what steps would you take to overcome excessive spending on low priority non-essentials that are currently embedded in our city budget? Specifically, name an area of concern to you.
Okay, well, number one, I will give you a little more background. My degree is in accounting. I also run a bookkeeping service as one of my businesses. I dive into budgets. I live for that sort of thing. And that's what we have to do is dig in and find those places where they have just gone off the tracks and spent money where they don't need to and reprioritize. I think any budget you can tighten up, and I think this one can really be tightened up. one real area of concern I have is the millage rate and the burden it's placing on our citizens, not just our residents and their homes, but our commercial properties and the people. We're trying to encourage people to open and run businesses, and then their commercial properties are taxed to death. With both sides of my family, I see a lot of tax bills, and going through them, it's very discouraging. So that is my main area of concern, is to tighten the budget up and find areas where we can reprioritize. The extras are nice, and if we can afford them after we do all the other things, great. But we need to make it where the residents, we're not overburdening the residents for extras.
Thank you.
Can you reread it, please?
If elected, Andy, what steps would you take to overcome excessive spending on low priority non-essentials that are currently embedded in our city budget? Specifically, name an area of concern to you.
Unfortunately, there's a few, because I have gone through our budget. And I've gone through our budget with people who have actually worked in the city in the past. And the people that worked in the city looked at that budget, or our current budget, and kind of went, holy cow, what is going on here? Don't get me wrong. The police department, as Brian said, the police department was well done. They've got new vehicles, they have new training, they did a wonderful thing. And there are good things that are happening with the budget. There is good in the budget. I'm not saying it's completely bad, but there's a lot of different committees or departments that appear that they overlap. And so as you look at the budget and you see line items like general distribution of $5 million, you're like, oh, well, what's that? It's general distribution. What does that mean? And so there's a lot of questions I have about the budgets and the different departments. And are we overlapping? Can we pare it down? How many employees work in each department? Is that necessary? And we move forward that way and we start cutting off the budgets. I also don't think that, I understand retreats are great, right? It's okay to have your retreat, but I don't think we need to go to Athens on our dollars to figure out what we want to do next in the city. I think we should be able to do that in a hotel, right here. Yeah, get away from the office so you're not interrupted, but figure out a way to do it right here and not spend our money frivolously.
Thank you. You want me to repeat, or you good? Okay.
So I think I already mentioned it a little bit, the art projects versus the police force. So I know that some of the police officers in the Canton PD have complained about the turn in 575 right there after the overpass at exit 16. It is by far one of the most dangerous parts of 575. That's statistically a fact. They have begged and pleaded for a light there. It is a safety concern when our officers are handling a crash there already, going around that curve in the middle of the night. You're not going to see that police officer. We have already had a loss in this community this past week because of an accident on 575. The fact that we are spending, what's it in the budget right now, $1.3 million on art. Okay, so that's already line itemed for art. Why can't we have a solar powered art light up the exit 16? I asked Billy Peppers this very question, and he said it would be up to the DOT to decide on if the placement was okay. You mean to tell me that something that the City of Canton Police Department has been asking you for years took my mom and I 5 minutes of a conversation to have in order to come up with a solution? It's a creative solution. We need to find more of those.
Okay. Everybody's got that one. No, you. Okay, keep
You're
going.
going to probably have to repeat it again.
Okay, honey.
There's so many
All
good
right.
things coming that I
All
just,
right, Brian.
non-essential.
Are you good?
No, please, one more
If
time.
elected, what steps would you take to overcome excessive spending on low priority non-essentials that are currently embedded in our city budget? Specifically, name areas of concern to you.
I don't know how you judge what's essential and what's non-essential, because to one person something's very important and the other person it's not. I understand that art, I think art's important, And to some people, it's their livelihood and that's what they do. As far as the budgets are concerned and where money's spent on certain items and stuff like that, again, it's important to some people, it's not to others. So to sit there and say something that I think everything's important, but I think the way we do everything should be watched. And that's how you create the budget. And that's how you reduce the budget. That's my opinion on that. So, for instance, maybe you don't have to have so many staff members for a certain thing. Maybe you subcontract out certain issues or certain jobs that the city has done. You use a subcontractor, you pay them for that job, they're done with that job. They're not getting benefits, they're not full-time salaries, you don't have to worry about unemployment benefits and so on and so forth. The other thing that I feel is some of the contractors that we use, you hold them, and bids that we get when somebody's building a park or building a building for us, hold them accountable. Limit the change orders. It's one thing to have a great bid on something, but they keep coming back to you for change orders and this and that. Next thing you know, you're paying another $500,000 for something else. So that's kind of my opinion on that. What's important to somebody's, not important to others and vice versa. So I think there's a good mixture for all that.
Thank you. Okay, this question, who did I add? Okay, starting with Andy. Okay, of all things which will come before you if you are elected, please name the top item for you personally that you hope to impact while you're in office, why you choose that item, and how far you would go to defend your position with respect to getting that item accomplished.
It's got to be the budget for me. The tax, in this budget, the taxes are important part of that. We have a lot of elderly people on fixed incomes that now their housing taxes are above that $485,000 limit that they get exemptions on because they're in their 62 and older. And we have failed to work with the county and whoever else makes that number. We've failed to increase that with the amount of taxes that are going up each and every year. And that needs to be things that are addressed. We've already hit on this millage rate. I'm so sick of hearing, oh, well, the millage rate's been 5.4 since 2017, and it's the lowest in the county. So you had an $11 million budget overage, you had $11 million that was not allocated according to our independent auditor. That could have been lower millage rate back to us. They could have knocked up. We may have only got a couple $100, but today, in this economy, a couple $100 is a lot of money to be used. So at least one trip to Publix, right? Maybe one trip to a gas station. Who knows? Depends on how that goes. So we need to look at, that's what I want to focus on. Get the budget down, get it where it wants, and serve the people of Canton by getting our millage rates down.
Okay. Circle back around to you, Sandy.
Mine would be the reduction of just government overreach. Anything, right now we are at the precipice where our government has a lot of hold on what we can do as far as our security and surveillance and things like that. We have a much older generation who doesn't know what those technologies look like and things like that, and we're approving a lot of things where we don't know where those things go. The government shouldn't have the authority, the power, or any other right to just unanimously survey us all. Things like that, things that protect the citizens, those things need to be in the ordinances, and things like you can't operate a pinball machine within 300 feet of a high school, or you have to have a backup sound in your car when you're driving inside the city. Like things like that don't need to be in our municipal code. Things that clutter for the sake of clutter so that somebody looks at the document and goes, I don't have time to read that. It's all it's all these different tactics used to keep us uninterested in what's going on. And I don't want that anymore. I want it to be a clear and concise thing where any citizen can look down at the laws and go, yes or no, I am following that. Without that, we cannot have a free society.
I don't think I've got an attention problem, but one more time.
Okay.
I'm on ADHD meds. Do you want some?
I can't remember the question.
Of all the things which will come before you if you're elected, please name the top item for you personally that you hope to impact while in office, why you chose that item, and how far you would go to defend your position with respect to getting that item accomplished.
There's so many items. The one thing I feel like I'll leave is I want Canton, going back to safety, but I want Canton to be unified. You know, politics are tough. I can't watch the news, you know, whether you're Republican or Democrat or whatever, it's hard to watch. There's so much negativity, so much finger pointing. If there's anything that I'm going to do at the City of Canton, I'm going to listen to whoever, whether I agree with you or not. I think that's what I want to end up leaving, is to know that I came there and I got along with all the council members that are there now and anybody else that comes on later. I just want to make sure we stay safe, we have an unbelievable place to live that we can afford to live to, and we can enjoy everything that Canton has to offer. That's what I want to leave. So, very simple. Thank you.
Well, the last 18 years, in various capacities, I have served on committees and councils and boards, and ultimately city council at one point, promote to revitalize the downtown area. So that's always going to be close to my heart. But that being said, my number one priority is to get the budget under control. And that's one of the main reasons that I'm up here. I want to get the budget under control, get the priorities where they best serve all the citizens, and take the burden off of the citizens. So that's my hill to die on, I guess.
Okay, I've got one last question. Now I have an attention problem. Who's supposed to go first?
Back to Sammy.
this time? Back to Sammy, all right. Sammy, if you could change one thing in our current zoning code, what would it be?
Probably mixed use zones, or the high density housing zone. I think that anything more than, let's say, 4 houses on an acre is way too much. I think that anything as far as the growth of the city, it can't sustain that. Like everybody's saying, we don't have the infrastructure to, we're way behind on what we need as far as the city goes for water. We were constantly playing catch up for the water department. They're about ready to start planning a hotel on our reservoir. What does that look like for our infrastructure? None of that makes any sense. So I think those zone things, I mean, honestly, it's just really a big overhaul thing. We need to simplify it and make sure that whenever a builder comes up to the city and asks, you know, can we do this, to make sure that not only are the city council members aware of what they're agreeing to, but also what the citizens around them are missing the opportunity to vote on. You know, we see a zoning sign that says, you know, this date, whatever, it's a bunch of numbers. We don't know what any of that means. We don't even know what to look up. So we need to just have more clarification with that.
Thank you. Andy? You're jumping. I'm gonna finish up right there because he just talked. So.
No worries. All right. So I have to say, to start with, we have 19 zones at the moment, and the council is already reviewing them today, and city management, and I believe they're going down to 11. So as I've looked at that zoning map and the different various things on the zoning map, it's still very confusing as to what is what and why that was labeled zoning. And so I really think, and they're probably doing it. So I know that they're looking at this piece of property probably shouldn't be this zone anymore, and they're adjusting it. And so until I see the actual results of Billy Pepper's and the city's rezoning, and I think their rezoning, it's going to make it easier to build more. I don't know if that's good or bad, depends on what you're trying to build, but the zoning laws are being pared down, so that's a good thing. But let's see what we get with the new, and it should be out, I would hope, by December. I think that's when it's supposed to be done, and so we'll have new zoning things to look at that point.
Okay. The one thing in the zoning that I would change is I would put an expiration date on master plans. Anybody comes with a new master plan and don't start building for 5 years or whatever date we agree to, it expires and you have to reapply. Most people don't realize there are developments and pods in the big communities, Great Sky, River Green, all of them. And there are complete communities their size on the books, approved, master planned, have been sitting there for 20, 25, 30 years. The city council couldn't stop them if the builder came in and went by the master plan, as long as they met all the requirements, code requirements. And we need to change that. We need to see if there is some way to sunset those plans, and any new master plan going forward, anytime someone comes with a master plan amendment, it gets an expiration date. That's the one change I would really make. I think that'll make the huge difference.
I got it. I was really paying attention. I'll tell you what I would like. I would like a planning and zoning board reinstituted in the city of Canton. We don't have that right now. We've got just everything goes to council itself. They read it, they hear it the first of the month, and they vote on it the next month. I would like to see a planning and zoning board of our peers, who the city council, like-minded people like whoever's on the council, back in the swing of things with the planning and zoning board. You have another set of eyes on every plan, every development that comes through. They vet it. You get to hear a different opinion. You have other people looking at it, and I think it's just another layer of protection for the city to have somebody else look at it before it comes to council.
Thank you. Okay, this concludes the 5 I had for everyone. Did you get any other questions over there? Did anybody write any down? Okay, then here's what we're going to do. It is 6:30, and since I only have one question that has been submitted, I'm going to go ahead and ask it. And then after that, we're just going to cut that off, and everybody's going to have refreshments, and you'll have a chance to mingle and meet these people and just talk to them a little bit. Is that agreeable with everybody? Yes. Okay, so I'm going to start this out with, who got the last question first?
Sammy did.
Okay, so it's up to you, buddy. This one came from, not from me. I'm not owning this one, but it came from someone that is sitting in the audience, so I'm going to just give it to you, okay? If you could, would you change the Board of County Commission's tradition of appointing a 50-50 split on the elections board, which clearly does not align with the political makeup of the county? Do you have a position on that question?
I think you have to go with the political makeup of the county.
Thank you. Do you want me to repeat, or are you good?
I'm good. I agree with him. I think you kind of have to go with how the county's split.
Andy?
I agree with that. For the county board and our city council should represent the people as we are currently defined in our setups. So,
Sammy?
Same, yep.
Okay, so everybody's in agreement on that. You all think that you should do it according to the actual split in the demographics.
Yep.
Is that true? Okay, thank you. Okay, this is the end of the question and answers. You guys are free to stand up and go get something to drink. Y'all, I encourage you to mingle. Do you have a question? Okay, what is it?
Yes, I heard all of you talk about the budget. One thing I'm concerned about, you operate on a line item budget that can be open for the citizen here to observe prior to getting approval to things. And then second follow question is, do you also have a 5-year operation of what you project that you're going to do for the city that can be open to all of us to say, to go online or whatever and say, oh, this is what we're looking for? But the line item budget that I'm concerned about, it tells, as what Ms. Sammy, I won't call you Samantha because you're not in trouble, but it could show where the money is being spent, as what Sammy brought out. And it won't be any question to why the budget went up, why it went down, and why, our property went up and the citizen homeowners pay.
Good question. I'm going to ask y'all to respond. Sammy, you can start.
So the reason, oh, I'm sorry. Just kidding. The reason why it's so convoluted is because a lot of what as far as with the county goes, we can't do anything about what they say your property is valued at. The taxes are assessed by the county. So I agree that as city council members, they should be the advocates for the people and go up to the county and say, excuse me, I don't know what algorithm you're using, but there's no way my house is worth that. So I think that there's definitely some room there. As far as the 5-year budget, the city does have that. It's called the roadmap to the city.
Well, that's a 15-year plan.
The 15-year plan, excuse me. They have a 15-year plan. They have, they do have on their website the, on the manager's thing where every month he comes out and he says, this is everything that happened in the city. This is how much we spent on what and everything. So there is that, but it's really not easy to use. No.
When you find it at, absolutely.
It's on the website. It's on Canton City's website, but you're absolutely right. It is buried deep and you have to basically search and search and search in order to find it.
I'm not 100% sure, but I would think everything that you're talking about should be public record. You should be able to find it, even if it has to be an open record request or something. I would assume, and I feel positive that there's somebody at the City of Canton, if you have those questions, somebody on staff should be able to provide you that information.
Okay, I know this better than a little bit. The way the process typically works with the budget, the staff puts together what they see their departmental needs are. And then that is basically the council sits down for a day or two, all day, every day, goes through every single page of it, all the lines, everything. And then they hold at least 2 public hearings where the budget is discussed, questions are answered, public can go make input and speak and raise concerns and questions before it's ever approved. So that process is open. The budget is the transparency laws require that it is all available. If you have a problem finding it on the website, you can contact, I know Nathan Ingram is probably the best point person for that, and they can get you answer any questions you may have.
Andy?
Yes, cantongA.gov is the website. You can go type in budget in the search and it'll bring you all the budgets. Each of them are about 88 pages long. Okay, I mean, there's a lot of stuff in there. And yet it's still not as transparent as I would wish it to be, because as I said, as I've gone through the budget, there were line items that I'm going, well, what is that? What does that make? It doesn't make sense, right? And as Brian said, I think you can go do an open records request and get the information, you hope, and get all of that. So, and I'm not hitting our city council for this. They say it's transparent, and Billy Peppers is doing the budget. They're looking at it and approving it or not. And so I don't blame them for that, but I think it could be a lot better. And so you can go and ask the city on that.
And that's it.
Whoops. Melissa Forrester is the
Finance director.
Is the finance director for the city. So if you go to the finance on there, she has fiscal year 2023 and 2024 on there on the website.
Good job, thank you. Thank all of y'all. We're gonna break up now and have some refreshments. We really weren't gonna do this if you weren't gonna, so I'm gonna just stop now and you can ask these questions to these people directly while we're mingling. Okay? Everybody wanna mingle?
Yep.
Let's mingle.